Good morning. Welcome to the Swain Event, fueled by Daddy and Barbecue. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain, live from the Low T Center studio. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Tuesday. Swain Event is fueled by Daddy and Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Ben McKee has made it safely. Well, he's in Knoxville. I don't know if it was safe or not. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I don't know. I need your help.
All right.
I don't know how I should feel about Tennessee baseball going into the second round of postseason play. The second stage, the last stage of postseason play. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. I watched the SEC tournament. Happy that we beat Alabama. Ecstatic that we beat Texas. Beating Texas helped us get the national seed, be able to host. But Ben, the game against Vanderbilt, man. This is the first time I've had to talk about it. Did not do a show yesterday. So, I haven't talked to anybody about it. I've just thought about it. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel, Ben.
Well, I will get into that in just a moment. First, I do want to say that I hope everybody had a happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody took a moment yesterday to remember why we have Memorial Day. It is not the same as Veterans Day. Memorial Day is a time to reflect on the brave men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So I hope everybody took a moment yesterday to remember those who have served our great country and paid the ultimate sacrifice. So folks like myself and Swain can sit around here on a Tuesday morning and take our kids to school and sit here and talk about Tennessee baseball and sports. So I do hope everybody enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend, and along the way, I hope you took a moment to think of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and the families that paid the ultimate sacrifice as well. And if you are somebody who has lost a family member in service, then I hope that you were able to find peace this weekend and know that your family was in my thoughts and prayers as well, just as much as the brave men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice. So I was glad that I was able to spend my time in Huntsville around my family on Memorial Day and able to kick back and relax some and think about those who allowed me to do that yesterday along the way. In terms of the baseball game on Saturday, Tennessee got punked. That's what it is. There's two ways to look at it, and I think both are fair ways to look at it, Swain, even if I'm going to sound hypocritical or maybe even contradict myself a little bit. But at the end of the day, that one result has no bearing on what's about to happen in the NCAA tournament. At the end of the day, Tennessee arrived in Hoover on the outside looking in terms of being able to host. They beat a really good Alabama team and essentially kicked Alabama out from hosting. Alabama was going to host until they lost to Tennessee. Tennessee deboed Alabama's spot. And then they were still kind of on the fringe. A lot of the projections had Tennessee still not hosting going into that Texas game the last time we spoke on Thursday morning. And it didn't look good early. There's some concern with Liam Doyle and his past two outings going into the postseason. We can have that conversation later this show or on Thursday when we preview the regional a little more in depth. But you were able to battle through adversity, just like you were in that Alabama game after the Dean Curley, Andrew Fisher mishap, and you were able to respond well and punch back. And we haven't seen this team do that all the time this season. So there was a lot of good in those first two games. And then you had the dud that was the Vanderbilt game. And as I was saying, like at the end of the day, you went to Hoover needing to win a couple of games to host. You won a couple of games, and now you're going to be hosting. And Like I hear the folks that say this team plays better on the road. Like I hear you. That's a very reasonable thought, but you still want to host.
Still want to host.
You still want to host. I don't even think it's a conversation. And at the end of the day, like taking 2 out of 3 on a weekend is still a good weekend, even if it was an SEC tournament format. With that being said, even understanding that like that singular loss to Vanderbilt on Saturday has no bearing on what's about to happen in the NCAA tournament. Like you go back a couple of years ago in 2022, the Tennessee team that should have won the national championship, that was 22.
Yep.
But
22.
they got drug, or I'm sorry, they drug Mississippi State in the SEC tournament, run ruled them in the second day. Mississippi State threw all 3 of their weekend starters, and Tennessee beat them around. And Mississippi State went on to win the national championship. So, like that singular, ugly run rule loss is not going to determine what Tennessee does in the postseason. But here's where I'm going to contradict myself a little bit by saying Tennessee pissed off Vanderbilt with the way it acted after the series concluded in Knoxville. And you acted all tough and stuck your chest out and like I was okay with it. They were kind of staring into your dugout as you were walking off the field, and like you stuck up for your field. And we talked about it at the time. Like Hunter Inslee did his part that weekend. I don't have a problem with him saying something to Vanderbilt because he held up his end of the deal that weekend. But you did piss off Vanderbilt in the process of all the shenanigans that took place after that series concluded and the teams had to be separated and this, that, and the other. When Vanderbilt found out and the results popped up on that Thursday to where, okay, there was going to be a rematch between Tennessee and Vanderbilt, Tim Corbin got his team ready to play. Tim Corbin, what happened in Knoxville did not sit well with him. It irked him quite a bit, as it did the rest of that Vanderbilt baseball team. So even though you accomplished everything that you wanted to accomplish in Hoover, for you to show up on Saturday and get punked by your in-state rival in that manner, and they had even less to play for than you did, and you just allowed them to beat you down in that manner and show up more prepared, show up more eager to play baseball than you after you stuck your chest out in Knoxville. To me, that's not. To me, that am I overreacting to think that that's kind of like part of your DNA? And if that is the case, which I do think that is the case, like we can throw out all these excuses about how Tennessee was already set to host and they had a good week. Like all that is very much true. And I'm not trying to take anything away from how much better they looked in Hoover. But boy, was that a sour taste to end a strong weekend on, because you got punked by your in-state rival. They cared more about playing baseball and taking belt to you-know-what more than you did. And you didn't have enough pride to show up and be more prepared to play baseball. And to me, that's a reflection of why the team had the second half slide that it had.
Ben, when's the last time we talked before today?
As that beatdown was happening.
We have not discussed anything about the beatdown after the beatdown. But you just explained why I'm confused on how to feel. Because on one hand, you did what you need to do in Hoover to be able to host. And you didn't go into Hoover hosting. You beat Texas. You beat Alabama. But when you have a rival, it's supposed to be on site. Does everybody know what on site means? On site means that I don't care what's going on or where I see you, me and you going to have some disagreements on site. You're going to see these hands on site. I might try to fight you on site when I see you. When someone says, hey man, it's on site. Next time I see you, we're going to have some misunderstandings. There's going to be some furniture moving. Tennessee, school I love, school later on the line for, embarrassed themselves in Knoxville versus Vanderbilt. Why? Because you had someone hit a home run that wanted to chirp running around the bases, which, hey, I had no problem with. I actually liked. But then you didn't win the game. So it made you look weak. It made you look silly. And then, because you was running your mouth and they beat you in your home field, they said, this is our home field. Which, hey, they have the right to say that because you started to talk and they finished it by winning. And then, you was going to act like you was going to do something. So there was a brouhaha after the game in the infield during the handshake line. I just knew, Ben, that Tennessee would come ready to go. I just knew that we was going to mount up like the regulators. Regulators! I just knew it. Oh, it's their rival? Last time we played these guys, they disrespected your field? Oh, we gonna get payback. I just knew it. How do you go out there versus your rival and lose like that? There's losing to where you don't score a point, you don't make a goal, you don't earn a run or even get a run. There's losing like that where you get skunked. But here's the thing about baseball that makes it even worse. When you get your ass whooped a lot, they stop the game. That's the thing about baseball, Ben. They will stop the game. That's even more embarrassing. At least in football, you gotta bear through it. It is a 60-minute football game. Well, we're gonna be here 60 minutes, folks. You better put the twos in. You better put the threes in. You better run the football. But we're gonna be here the whole entire time. Basketball, same thing. You can hold the ball. You can run four corners. You can decide not to shoot. You can put your bench players in. But we're going to be out here these whole 40 minutes. In baseball, if you're getting skull drugged like Tennessee did, it's so bad that they don't even want people to see any more of it. They just call the game. And that's what they did against us Saturday. So that's why I'm confused, Ben, on how to feel. I have mixed feelings because that was embarrassing. You're supposed to give your all for Tennessee when you put on that uniform, let alone against a rival who hates you. You couldn't muster any more effort and focus than that. They hate you.
And there is an element to Vanderbilt is the better baseball team.
Man, it don't matter.
Well, I don't know that like that Vanderbilt offense is beating you no matter who you throw on Saturday. But it's just it's not that they beat Tennessee. It's just that Tennessee sat there and took it and didn't really respond. And I just don't know how that happens after what happened in Knoxville. And here's what it boils down to in my mind is that this season Vanderbilt is more like Tennessee and Tennessee has been more like Vanderbilt. The roles have flipped to where Tennessee, like the last couple of years, as Tony has elevated the program and built it to be a national championship level program, Vanderbilt was a little timid. Vanderbilt was timid, sat back, and took what Tennessee was doing to it. And that's what Tennessee has been this year when playing Vanderbilt, who has been the aggressor like a Tennessee. Maybe not as maybe there aren't as many theatrics with Vanderbilt as we've seen with some Tennessee teams, but in terms of like not shying away and being the first to throw a punch and not letting up like we've seen from past Tennessee teams, that's this year's Vanderbilt teams. The roles have been reversed this year to where Vanderbilt is the aggressor. They're not like actually getting in people's faces, but it's kind of like they're kicking butt, taking names, talking ish, taking names, and Tennessee's just being timid and sitting there and taking it. Vanderbilt looks like a team that it has grown tired of sitting around and watching its in-state rival surpass them in their sport. And R.J. Austin and Riley Nelson and J.D. Thompson and Cody Bowker and the Fennel kid, like they're not having it anymore.
Bro, I was getting ready to bring up Connor Fennel. When we took a timeout and old boy was waiting at the mound, locked and loaded, I think that was a microcosm of the season series between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Oh, we needed a little break. We need a little timeout. And I get it. Like, hitters take timeout. You got to get your mind right. I get it. But, like, the pitcher just sitting there ready. He ready. He don't want no time. He ready to throw this heat. He ready to get you out. I think that was a perfect picture of what picture, like, ching, ching, picture
photo
of Tennessee and Vanderbilt this year. Like, listen, and I know our former players who played on team, when it comes to what they post on social media, it is always in a positive light to our current players, because you get so many silly folks that take their criticism overboard, that the foreign players need to come to the defense of our current players. Need it. And current players really don't get the public criticism like sometimes with football. Because, like, we've seen in recent years when a football team ain't doing what they need to be doing, guys not playing right, like, we got some ex-players that will voice their displeasure on social media. And that's not just at Tennessee. That's at other places, too. So football players tend to do that a little bit more than other sports. But, like, as positive as our foreign players have been, I know they were disgusted and embarrassed by what they saw out there on Saturday, because that's not what they laid. That's not the foundation they laid. They didn't give you the keys to this Tennessee baseball program to play like that. They didn't give you the keys. They didn't pass the torch to you to let the torch, let the flame dim. No, they want the torch continuing to burn, like the torchbearer up on the hill. Like, it needs to be burning strong. But for some reason, we didn't come ready to play on Saturday. And you got foreign players, they hooked you up with the Jordans at the beginning of the season, the cream Jordans. That's how you going to repay them? By coming out and playing like that against Vanderbilt? And now Vanderbilt has the number 1 overall seed.
Which is funny because Vanderbilt has the harder regional, I think, than Tennessee does, with ETSU and Louisville, who they just lost to. Now, it was a midweek game. I think Vanderbilt should win that series, but ETSU and Louisville will probably be more thorns in the side of Vanderbilt than Wake Forest or Cincinnati. So there's some irony there, but I feel you.
Man?
Saturday was just it was.
Ain't
What's
you
that?
missing team? Cincinnati, Wake Forest, and who else? I think you missed a team, Ben. You being
Ben Roethlisberger's Miami of Ohio.
You being disrespectful, Ben.
Look, if Tennessee loses to Miami of Ohio, then
can I share some with you?
Yes, of course.
So obviously you wasn't listening. It's this day on the show, Josh and Swain. I thought you had my back. I thought you was my #1 fan, but I guess not. So it was a day that.
When's the last Diamond Balls podcast you listened to?
All right.
See what happened was.
Fair enough. You know I'm listening to everybody's stuff. If I listen to anybody locally, it is you. So a couple days ago, when Tennessee softball was opening up their regional, and they were playing Miami of Ohio, and this wasn't a dig at Miami of Ohio. I just thought about how annoying it would be for alums of Miami of Ohio to always have to say, yeah, I went to Miami, but it was Miami of Ohio. I was like, you know how annoying that would be? Like, every time someone asks you where you went to school and you tell Miami and they get all excited like you went to, Miami, like in Florida, you Miami Hurricanes, but you always have to stop and say of Ohio. That would be annoying. Like, you're always associated with the real Miami. And Josh Ward always instigating, trying to be slick, trying to make it seem like I was, trash talking Miami, which I never was. But it's annoying having to do that every time.
I'm already annoyed writing it out.
Yeah, Miami, Ohio, just every other school.
I put the OH in parentheses.
Yeah,
like,
man. Yeah, like every other school, you don't have to do that. All right, it's Texas, it's Tulane. You don't say Tulane of Louisiana. Like you don't have to do all that. Auburn of Alabama. Like you don't have to do all that. But Miami, Ohio, you have to do it. And so
it'd be funny if Auburn did it.
I just spoke on how annoying that would be. And what do you know, man? We are hosting Miami of Ohio.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Don't forget about it, man. Don't be disrespectful.
You're the one that will call them appetizer state, or I'm sure they have a 100-year-old nun that you'll make fun of.
I didn't do that.
But yeah, I do not like Miami of Ohio because I have to say of Ohio. Like that's so annoying.
So annoying.
Change your name, please.
Exactly.
For the sake of everybody. Nobody appreciates it. I bet Ben Roethlisberger doesn't even appreciate it. But Tennessee should obviously handle business on Friday. And the only way Wake Forest or Cincinnati beats you is if you beat yourself. And unfortunately, that has been a thing for this Tennessee baseball team. So the Vanderbilt loss was, I don't think we're out of place for voicing our displeasure with the performance. But that singular performance is not going to dictate whether Tennessee wins the Knoxville Regional or not. But I like I said, although I say that, like I do think the way you showed up against Vanderbilt is part of your DNA. And like I in hindsight, like why did we move up first pitch 2 hours? It didn't rain a single bit all day long to where you're having a 10 a.m. local first pitch.
It don't matter.
The grounds crew watered the field right before the game for some reason, and it was like a swamp behind home plate.
It don't matter.
But I don't care about those factors because Vanderbilt had to deal with the same factors, and it did not faze them one bit. They wanted to take belt to butt because of what happened in Knoxville. Tim Corbin was very motivated going into that game, was very motivated to get his team ready to play baseball, and Tennessee did not respond well. And that that singular result may not dictate what you do in the NCAA tournament, but it's hard not to, at least for me, it's hard not to think about how the way you handled that moment, the way you let your in-state rival punk you, that's not part of your DNA.
Dude, me and you are aligned there. All right, let's get to the phones. The Marcos Garza hotline, garzalaw.com, 865-255-03 is our telephone number. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Turkey Man.
Guys. Hey, I was going to ask you guys, what blueprint did Vanderbilt leave on how to take care of Tennessee baseball coming through the SEC tournament and at home, but especially the SEC tournament? They was determined that they was going to run on our pitchers and run on our catchers. They was going to be aggressive on the bags, and they laid a blueprint going forward. The same way as a lot of teams did, our football team laid out a blueprint how to beat them and how to take care of the situation. And I want to get Ben in particular's opinion on the blueprint and what we need to do to change our outlook. The change what it takes to beat us, and I'd like to hear that from you guys. I'll get off.
Thank you. You know what, Turkey Man? I was thinking when Turkey Man asked the question and wants you to answer it, Ben. I was thinking exactly what Turkey Man was saying about allowing Vanderbilt to run on us the way we did in Knoxville. But the floor is yours, my man.
Well, Tennessee did a better job of slowing down Vanderbilt in the running game. They stole two. Tennessee caught two stealing. So it was kind of a wash in the SEC tournament game. The blueprint it's no different than the blueprint we've seen the last 2 months. When we saw them lose to Texas A&M, when we saw them lose to Kentucky, when we saw them lose to Auburn, when we saw them lose to LSU, when we saw them lose to Arkansas, when we saw them lose to Vanderbilt,
That's enough,
it's the same blueprint.
That's enough, man.
Allow Tennessee to beat themselves. That's it. Just hang in there, and at some point, Tennessee will beat itself, whether it be on the base paths, somebody being thrown out at home plate, whether it be in the field with errors, throwing errors, fielding errors, mental errors, whether it be at the plate where you the first two hitters of the game walk. You have first and second.
What opportunity.
What an opportunity.
Yeah.
What an opportunity. And your 3, 4, and 5 hitters just strike out.
Yeah.
And I think 2 of the 3 strikeouts were on 3 pitches.
Yeah.
How do you strike out on 3 pitches after you drew back-to-back walks to begin the game? How do you not just simply try and go to right center to move the runners over? I would have liked to have seen a bunt. In fact, I think they may have tried a bunt with Inslee, and he didn't get it down on the first pitch. But that goes back to, again, just not being good situationally, which the offense, I think it was more of an off game than anything. And we are going pretty hard at them. I do think, I know we were talking about the first pitch being moved up. Like, Swain, I do think there are some circumstances there. You did have a day off, but your game prior, you did go 12 innings in a heavyweight matchup with Texas.
Care, Ben.
I don't either.
You acted a fool in your place.
I agree.
As if you were going to do something next time you saw Vanderbilt.
And you did nothing.
And you did nothing.
I'm with you.
It did not matter to me.
I hear you. I'm with you. Shame on me for bringing that up. But like it's just that's the blueprint. Just allow Tennessee to beat itself because they have not played a clean weekend of baseball since the South Carolina series at the end of March. And South Carolina was awful this year. One of the worst teams in South Carolina history was that South Carolina team. You have not played a clean weekend of baseball from start to finish since March. Since March. Even with your series win at Ole Miss, even this series win at Hoover, if we want to call it that, you had very frustrating mistakes along the way that, quite frankly, should not happen at the college level as frequently as it happens with this team. Like, they're college kids, they're amateurs, they're not going to play perfect. You saw Arkansas make mistakes, you saw LSU make mistakes, Vanderbilt had errors, Texas had an error that led to Tennessee tying the game. Like, they're amateurs, right? And as Will Heflin always says, that's part of the reason we love college baseball, because when the baseball is put in play, you don't know for sure what's going to happen. Where in the major leagues, for the most part, it's, for me, Anthony Volpe. You hit it to Anthony Volpe, and Anthony Volpe's recording and out 99.9% of the 100 chances that he gets. So, or for Braves fans in years past, you hit it to Andrelton Simmons, you hit it to Dansby Swanson, it's an out almost every single time. It's dang near automatic, and that's not the case with college baseball. So, like, nobody's expecting them to be perfect, but it's just good, well-rounded baseball teams do not make as many costly mistakes as this team tends to make over the last 2 months. So that's the blueprint. The pitching, getting behind, just constantly living behind and being down in the count 2-0, 3-0, 3-1. Just not throwing strikes, and there's multiple guys doing it, although you feel better about your pitching staff coming out of the weekend than you do entering the weekend. As we talked about with Marcus Phillips and A.J. Russell, I guess since we last spoke, Brandon Arvidsson had one of the best outings of the season. Boy, was that fun to watch against Texas, and boy, did that change the trajectory of this baseball team in terms of the pitching side. If that's the Arvidsson that they are going to get in the NCAA tournament. Nobody made more money at the SEC tournament than Brandon Arvidsson. I mean, you're kind of sitting there watching the beginning of his outing against Texas out of the bullpen, and you're thinking, Man, this sure would be fun to watch next year as one of Tennessee's 3 starters in the rotation, and then he kept striking more and more Longhorns out, and then you start to realize, oh wait, there's a lot of decision makers with professional organizations in the building today. Yeah, there's no chance that Brandon Arvidsson will be back next season because he probably was already going to get drafted and signed. Now there's no doubt that he is getting drafted and signing because, as my guy Heflin pointed out, he's not going to be a first-round pick, but he has first-round pick upside, and you can spend less money on him later in the draft and in those middle rounds and snatch him up, like in the 3rd to 6th round, and you're getting first-round potential and not having to pay first-round price. And boy, our team's going to jump at that. So that I'm being a bit longer-winded than I intended to be, but that's the blueprint. It's nothing we saw against Vanderbilt in terms of the actual baseball. The way they showed up mentally was far more concerning than the actual baseball that they played, because the baseball was no different than we've seen them play when they've struggled the last 2 months. And the stolen bases, like, yeah, Vanderbilt stole 2, but Tennessee also caught them stealing twice. They were 2 for 4, so kind of that was a draw in that particular game. And I do feel like Tennessee has been better at slowing down opponents on the bases of late, really since the Arkansas series. Marcus Phillips has done much better his last 2 outings against Arkansas and against Alabama on Wednesday. Cannon Peebles, he doesn't have the greatest arm of all time, but it's serviceable, and you've seen him have some success throwing guys out as well. So I think that they've actually gotten better in that area. Now we'll see if they run into Cincinnati, because Cincinnati could be a matchup problem for them because they like to run, but Cincinnati also doesn't consistently see the velocity that they are going to see on Saturday. And it brings up a talking point for later on in the show or later on this week when we get into our preview. Now, Tony Vitello does talk in 2 hours at 10:30, so maybe he'll give us an answer before we can even preview it on Thursday. But with Cincinnati's ability to run and steal bases, and with although Marcus has been much better the last 2 times out, I don't want to ignore that, but I just think you need to avoid that potential matchup at all costs. I think it would be a poor decision to even set up that possibility of Marcus Phillips facing a team that really runs successfully on the bases. I don't think there's any doubt that Marcus has to start game 1 on Friday against Miami of Ohio. Shout out Big Ben. And then Liam Doyle starts on Saturday against Wake Forest or Cincinnati. So, yeah, Cincinnati may run successfully, but has Cincinnati faced a Liam Doyle this year or faced a Liam Doyle consistently? And Liam needs to be better than his last 2 times out, but they got to get on base first against the SEC pitcher of the year and potential number 1 overall pick, and that's not something that they've had to try and do all that often this season.
All right, I came up with some options for Miami of Ohio to make it easy on themselves and all of us. How about Ohio Tech? How about Ohio A&M? How about Moo? M-O-O.
Nah, you can't do Moo.
Miami of Ohio. How about UMO? University of Miami, Ohio. UMO. We're just trying to help Miami of Ohio. We're trying to make it easier on yourself and easier on us. So those are the 4 I've come up with so far. We will be adding more later.
What about MOH? Just like instead of A&M, just call them. They can still be Miami of Ohio, but we all refer to them as MOH. Kind of like what we do with UTC or UAH.
Miami
ETSU.
of Ohio. Where's the H come from?
The Ohio's initials.
In that case, we should just call me Moo.
I like Mo. Like MOE, but MOH. Mo.
Anything's better than Miami of Ohio. It's just
I
too much.
I think they should be forced to combine schools with somebody else. All their students must now feed into Ohio State or the University of Ohio.
Something.
I don't even know where Miami in Ohio is.
We did a little bit on that. Joshua Swain. I forgot.
You already forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry, man. It's the city I never heard of before. I'm sorry it didn't stick.
It's not even. Why is it called Miami? It's in Oxford, Ohio. I need somebody to explain this to me.
It was actually established before the University of Miami.
No, it's not even that far from Knoxville. It's
So-
just above Cincinnati.
Yeah, so it was established before the University of Miami. So really, Miami came in and just kind of stole their thunder.
So we need Miami to change its name.
Yeah, well, that's not gonna happen.
Miami just needs to go by the U, anyways.
No, they can go by what they want to.
No, see, Miami needs to become Oxford University.
That's what I was saying.
But isn't there a popular Oxford University like overseas in England?
Yeah, that's why you can't do it.
Oxford over Ohio.
Yeah, because then all your family, when you tell them, hey, I've been accepted into Oxford. Oh my gosh! My little cousin's about to be a doctor. No, it's the old Miami of Ohio. That Oxford. Oh, but still,
Yeah, it needs to be like a UTC type situation to where it's you go by the initials of the city that you're in.
So U-O.
Oh, University of Ohio in Oxford.
Yeah.
UOO.
UOO. UO squared. UOO.
The amount of money that somebody would have to pay me to venture to this school or go to this school, that number is so high.
All right, I'm going to the phone. Guards the Law Hotline. Then we got to come back and talk about Lim Doyle. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing today?
What's up?
Not much. This is a great discussion on what to call Miami of Ohio. I mean, this has been something that's been plaguing that school, whether they know it or not, for decades.
Yeah. They really annoyed sports fans.
I agree. Hey, okay. So with regards to baseball, and I mean, there is no coach that deserves more respect in college baseball right now than Tony Vitello. Ben, I have a question for you, and I know this is one that you've probably heard 1,000 times, but why the reluctance from Tony's side on making changes that seem pretty obvious? And I'm not trying to call out this player or that player because
you're talking
I
about
think
Dean
we've all
Curley.
seen it. Actually, okay. So now that you bring up his name, Ben, we can discuss that.
You weren't talking about him before, I bet.
Yeah, I was. But since Ben brought it up, we'll go with that. But why? I don't understand. Like, looking at it from, like, you know, what he brings from a positive standpoint in terms of run production versus the negative run production, because I think a lot of this is affecting the pitching staff. So falling behind in the count usually means you're nibbling at corners. Why? Because you're not as confident as a pitcher to throw to contact, let him put the ball in play, keep it on the ground. You're going for that punch out every time, which in college baseball with aluminum bats, you know, is definitely harder to do because even your miss hits can be hit hard somewhere. So why that reluctance of Tony to make a change and put in some guys? I mean, just from the standpoint of, hey, maybe this kid needs to just get away from fielding for a week or two, clear his head, reset, because it looks like every time he's out there, it's almost like when the ball's hit to him, it's like it's almost a, oh crap, it was hit to me, and I better not boot it. And by the time that thought goes through his head, the ball's either through his legs, off his glove. I mean, the mental errors And you didn't see this of this kid last year, so you can't say, well, he's had a whole career of this. Why that reluctance? And are the options, if you do make a change, are they that much worse?
I think you just answered your own question by the last two things that you said. I think that they believe that it's still within him. Now, I agree that it's still within him. Like, I don't think that this is something that's going to plague him his entire career, but I do think
it's
that
plaguing him right now. It's
yes.
plaguing him right now. Yeah.
Yes. I don't think it's something that is going to be corrected at this point in the season. At this point in the season, to me, it is what it is. And I'm a huge Dean Curley fan, but the defensive issues are what they are. And that's something that's going to have to be ironed out over the offseason for him as he takes the next step professionally. And that's something that's going to have to be built up confidence-wise. So I think there's a couple of different things. I think that's one of them, is that they realize that, or they believe that there's still that it's still within him that he can play good defense and not have the mistakes that he has had. I also think the other thing that you said, I don't think plan B is much better. I know that can sound hard to believe
No, it's
based off of what we've
possible.
seen from Dean, but like they gave Ariel a chance, and Ariel has one going into the SEC tournament. I think Ariel had one more error in SEC play or was tied with Dean in a whole lot less opportunities. In Hoover, after the mistake in the Alabama game, first, they thought that was 50-50. They thought that was on Dean, and they thought that was on Fisher. They thought Fisher was playing off the bag too much and did not do a good job of getting over to the bag and getting his head turned around. Not excusing Dean's error, but they felt like that was as much on Andrew as it was on Dean. But in Hoover, this is my opinion from the outside looking in. Nobody has suggested this to me. I don't think that they wanted to put Levi Clark out in left field, because this is what we talked about during Thursday's show, is if you make a change, because Dean has to be in the lineup. He's been hitting the cover off the ball the last 3 weekends since Vanderbilt, Arkansas SEC tournament. Dean has looked much better at the plate there than he did the middle of SEC play. So you can't bench Dean Curley. He needs to be in the lineup. I think it's fair to think that he should be the DH. Like, I think that's something that should be strongly considered this weekend. Now that you're back in Lindsey Nelson, there's not as much room to cover out in left field for Levi. I think it's reasonable to put Manny at second base, Dalton Bargo at third base, Levi Clark in left field, and Dean Curley the DH. Now, in Hoover, though, I don't know that that's a comfortable plan B, putting Levi Clark, a catcher and first baseman by trade, out in that big old left field of the Hoover Met. And outside of that, it's Ariel Antigua, which they did put him in defensively at the very end of the game against Texas, and he made a play that really helped win the ball game, catching that line drive and throwing it over to second base to double up the runner. That was a critical play. It was a very nice play by Ariel, but Ariel has not made those plays consistently, and he's basically an automatic out anytime he's in the box. So to me, the alternatives are Chris Newstrom or Manny Marin, some of the freshmen, rather than an Ariel or sliding Dean over. So I think that your options, your plan Bs, your plan Cs are not great. Now, some will say that it can't be worse, and like I don't disagree with that compared to some of the mistakes that Dean has made. You had the ball go between his legs at Arkansas that could have been a key double play. I mentioned the play with Fisher. Then you had him flipping the ball with his glove over Fisher's head in the Vanderbilt game, and that allowed the runners to move up to second and third and put them in scoring position, and the next guy hits a 2-run single, and both runs score because of the error. So, yeah, it's a tough spot. I think there's a lot of different factors that go into it. I think that I think they're trying to build up his confidence, and I think that they still need him because the other options are not ideal. options. And like I do think there's a sense of loyalty. Tony can be too loyal. If you're one of his guys, he's going to be loyal with you until the wheels fall off. He was one of their first big time commits. He passed on the draft to come to Tennessee. He was the starting shortstop on the team that won the national championship, and this was not an issue. And it wasn't like he was hitting in the 9-hole. He wasn't Michael Braswell at LSU hitting ninth and hitting 221 with 2 homers throughout the regular season. Like Dean obviously had a really good season as a freshman, so there's a lot of loyalty there as well, for better or worse.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's what I thought you might say was the moves you got to make in the lineup and at positions, and I didn't realize that Levi Clark was probably that uncomfortable at left field, because that brings up another big problem if you do make it to Omaha, because those outfields are massive, and you've got to have good outfield play.
I think you can get away with it at Lindsey Nelson, sticking Levi in left this weekend, maybe even next weekend if you go to Fayetteville. But in Hoover and Omaha, like Levi Clark being out in left field is not ideal. And I do think he is more athletic than the typical catcher, first baseman by trade. I think he moves well for that position, but he's still a catcher and first baseman by trade at the end of the day. And you can get away with that in Lindsey Nelson, at Baumwalker in Fayetteville, but that's tough in Hoover and in Omaha.
Yeah, I just thought maybe get him out of the field for a few games and just reset. Have him contribute with the bat, feel positive, get some confidence going that way. I mean, sometimes getting away from what you're doing incorrect, can just have a real sort of calming effect. But I mean, it's we're at a new stage, like you guys said. It's the last stage of this season, and we'll see what they put together.
I would strongly consider it this weekend, Justin. I would strongly consider Manny at second, Bargo at third, and Levi in left. And I don't know this, but there was a game where they tried Bargo at third, and he looked good one weekend, and the next weekend he committed 2 errors in one game. I forget when that was. Maybe the Auburn series. Maybe that scared them off of that plan as well. There's not a natural, because you have to have Dean and Levi in the lineup, there's not a natural defense that goes with that at the moment. In order to go with the best defensive lineup, you would have to take Levi or Dean out of the lineup, and that can't happen right now.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll see what happens, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Another part of the conversation, which you understand the loyalty part of it and what Dean did last year, and you understand, like, all right, there's no other options that's better. What immediately went through my mind is, how are you in that situation when you have recruited the best in the last couple of years as well? But I do understand that there's young players that you mentioned that are options, and maybe they're just not ready, and that happens. You recruit well, that's one thing, but that doesn't always mean that a freshman is ready. Every freshman is different. So,
and I think part of that, and it's a case-by-case basis, but going, just generally speaking, going off of what you just said, is they've recruited a lot of elite bats and have had the thought process of, we'll figure out their positioning when they get here.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you already have several guys playing out of position. Jay Abernathy is not an outfielder by trade. He signed as a middle infielder.
Yeah.
But you're not going to put Jay Abernathy in there over Dean or Levi's bat. Bargo is kind of a utility guy that can play multiple positions. Levi, again, signed as a catcher, but his bat is far ahead of his glove, but you need the bat in the lineup, so you're trying to find a place to put his bat. And then same with, now Dean is an infielder by trade. He signed as a shortstop and he's had a bad defensive year. He's had an uncharacteristically bad defensive year. And then behind those guys, you're just young. And that is something that they are one of the younger teams in the league. And I'm not at all presenting that as an excuse, but I do think that's played a role at times. I mean, you look at the other options, and they're all young. They're all in their first or second year of college baseball, Dean Curley included. And so, like, yes, this team is still ultra talented, but you did lose, 14 to 20 players off of last year's team that won a national championship. You did a great job of restocking the cupboards with talent, but that talent is more inexperienced than it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like basketball. Well, we've seen over the years the experienced and talented team win consistently and go deep. And that doesn't mean that just because you're the most talented, if you have that youth, it opens you up to some adversity. And that's what Tennessee's going through right now. So I was watching the baseball selection show. They had Chris Berg and Kyle Peterson, another gentleman, on the panel. And the third gentleman said that Tennessee region was one he was really intrigued with because Tennessee, he believes, still has the most talent in America.
Mike Rooney.
All right, that's him. Yeah. Most talent in America. It was on ESPN. Most talent in America. And at the end of the day, that always gives you a reason to be optimistic. Even during the season, when Tennessee was dropping series after series, I was thinking, man, hey, still got the most talent. And that still gives you a chance at the end of the day. Do you think it's a little late to make adjustments to the infield, considering you had opportunities to do that weeks ago, you decided not to? Don't you think it's a little late to be doing that now? Or if you're going to do it in the regional versus maybe a team that's not as good as yours, maybe you do it now before you get to the super regional if you make it that far.
I don't think it's too late because it's been that bad.
Yeah.
And I do think that they have tried to make adjustments along the way, and they have made changes. They just haven't been drastic changes, like the drastic change that everybody wants, and that's the DH Dean Curley. And would they do that at this point? I don't know. Tony is a big believer in, I know this is going to sound kind of funny, but he's a big believer in this time of year sticking with what got you here. And I realize that Dean has had his mistakes, but they are hosting after all. They did finish, I believe, with the third most wins in the country, in spite of the defensive mistakes. Now, a lot of that is because of what you did in February and March. And, like, I'm not at all saying let's give them a participation trophy when I say this, but they were one of the few teams that did not get swept during SEC play. And that is an achievement because that's just typically not how baseball works, which speaks to their floor and ceiling. But they certainly they took their body shots along the way this season. So they tried Ariel at shortstop when Gavin Keelan was out, and he could just not provide any consistency in the field. And that's kind of why he was in there, and he was not making the routine plays consistently enough, and he was not at all giving you good at bats either. So they tried Ariel. They tried Dalton Bargo at third. They've moved Manny Marin from third base to second base. Dean has played second base, shortstop, third base. So like they've tried things. They've changed things along the way. They just haven't done anything super drastic. They put Keelan at shortstop when he came back from his hamstring injury when he had been playing second base. So they have changed things. They just haven't done the drastic one that everybody wants to see with Dean Curley. And I don't think it's too late to do it because it has been that bad. And boy, will it be a long summer. I know people will turn to football, but like there's a lot of baseball interest, and it doesn't stop immediately when baseball season ends. A lot of people want to know what the roster is going to look like. and start looking ahead to next season as we bridge that gap to fall camp. And if they lose because Dean Curley flips the baseball over Andrew Fisher's head, or he and Fisher have another miscommunication, or a ground ball goes between his legs like it did at Arkansas, and that's why their season ends when you could have made the move to put him at DH, it's going to be a long summer if that's the reason why. So do I think that he will? No. Do I think it's too late? I also don't think it's too late because it's been that bad.
865-250-503, Garza Law Hotline. Swain Event, fueled by Daddy and Barbecue. We'll get to the Beatty Chevrolet text box. When we come back, it's the Swain Event, fueled by Daddy and Barbecue.
Good morning, Swain Event family. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. Summertime is almost here and there's always a lot going on. Trying to fit in a vacation, summer sports, camps, all while trying to buy or sell a home can be overwhelming. If a move is part of your summer plans, let me help you take some of that stress away so you can have a little fun with your family. Just give me a call at 865-694-5904 or reach out on my website, nextmovesmokymountains.com. That's nextmovesmokymountains.com, and go Vols!
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Fellas, let's talk about getting back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feeling moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. You need to know your T levels, so get tested. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and you'll find true experts at Low T Center. But guys are not all the same, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT program. Learn about the personalized treatment at Low T Center and the results you can expect with customized TRT. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book an appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Tennessee, a national seed. Doesn't matter how you have played up until this point, to a certain extent. We have seen other teams turn it on at this time of the year and bring home a national championship. Tennessee certainly has the talent to do so. Before we went to break, we were discussing the SEC tournament. I think. I
mean, what would you do? I'm curious as to your thoughts on you. Look,
listen,
you played at a much more higher level than I ever played. So I mean, you're more knowledgeable about team sports than I am. I mean, what do you think it's too late for them to make a change? You watch the games. You text me. I know you're paying attention. You enjoy watching Tennessee baseball, even if it's been frustrating at times. You're well versed in Tennessee baseball. Would you make a change with Dean Curley? Do you think it's too late to make that type of change?
I look at this situation like I would do a quarterback who's struggling. Like, first you have to determine, is the other option better? That's the first determination, I think, in my opinion. Like, all right.
The problem with that is, like, technically plans B and C are not better.
I understand. I know.
But
that's the first
it's
question.
been so bad, it's like, how could it not be?
Yeah. So that's the first thing you have to ask yourself. All right, is the backup, is he better? Once you have found that answer, then you have to ask another question. How is the bad play of this person affecting the confidence of the others that this person who is struggling can do his job? So, like, I use a quarterback for an example. The quarterback can have a bad game, bad 2-3 games. The second string quarterback, although is not better, but the bad play of quarterback one is so bad that it's affecting all the other players from doing their job at a high level. The receivers are not running routes properly. The O-line, they're not blocking with the same type of focus and determination because they're continuing to throw this guy out here that's not doing his job properly. And so if they're going to do that, then why should we do our job properly? It's affecting the defense. Then that's when you have to make a change, even though option number 2 is not better than option number 1. But now you're saying, well, we have to rely on everybody else to step their game up now. We can get better play from other people around the player that's struggling to make up for the fact that the player is struggling. So, like, is Dean Curley's teammates still having his back? Have their play struggled because of Dean Curley's struggles? And I don't know if we're there yet. I would say maybe not.
I don't believe we're at that point. Just to give a quick little insight, like, Dean Curley's one of the he's one of the top dogs in the room. He's viewed as one of the leaders. He's one of the more likable guys. So I don't think we're at that point.
Yeah, so that's why I say I understand where Tony's coming from. You keep rolling with him. The moment that, like, the teammates start losing confidence in him, and then his bad plays rubbing off of others, then okay, that's when you say, all right, even though the second option is not better, it won't rub off on the entire team. But I don't think we're there yet. And so I would say continue to roll with him. I do wonder, and, like, if there is something, I'm not going to discuss it here, but you do have players that when they play sports, there's a lot of concentration that's involved. It's not about just being physically athletic and being able to do your job without that level of concentration. Like throwing the football, catching the football, kicking, punting, kicking field goals, shooting the basketball. Like, you can have a girlfriend problem, you can have something going on at home and still play good defense in basketball. Or you can still hit somebody if you come across the middle with the football in their hands. But when we're talking about the level of concentration that it takes to catch a football in traffic or kick a field goal or punt or shoot a basketball from a long distance, that is a level of concentration that you got to have to be able to do your job. And if there's distractions off the field, off the court, off the diamond that is present, then it's going to have an impact on your game. So I don't know if Dean Curley has anything going on, but you have to start asking questions when you look at how he played last year in the field versus this year. He's supposed to be better from your freshman year to your sophomore year. He's supposed to be a year wiser, a year more experienced, physically better with how you move and the strength that you have gained during the offseason. And so it seems like it's something mental. Well, if it's something mental, what is it? Again, not for this show to get details, but guys who are 18 and 22 years old, they got personal lives. And sometimes things that happen in the personal life affects them on the field.
He posted this on social media, so I don't mind sharing it. But he did lose a family member.
Okay, there it is.
In between seasons. his grandfather that was very instrumental. His mom is a single mom, lost his grandfather, so that did happen over the off season.
There it is.
And that was posted on social media, so I don't mind sharing that. But so he I would imagine, I have not spoken to him about that, so I don't want to speak out of turn. So I'll just present that and leave it at that. But like,
good move.
I can. He's a sophomore in college. He is draft eligible this year, so I guess he's going to be 21 at the time of the draft. I actually think he turned 21 a couple weeks ago. Like yesterday was the 6-year mark of my grandfather passing away, and yesterday was really tough for me. So I can only imagine what that does for a 21-year-old when your grandfather was basically like your father figure. So these people do go through things, and we do tend to forget that. And like I caught some flack on my board because after he made that mistake against Alabama, when he threw it before Fisher had turned around, like people were just calling him out of his name and cussing him. And it's like, I understand being critical. There's nothing wrong with being critical, especially in today's day and age of quote unquote student athletes. They're basically mini professionals, but like, he's still a young man, and you have every right to be frustrated, and it's okay to criticize, but you can criticize without cussing his name, without calling him out of his name. He's still a young man, and he's been going through a lot like the last several months. And just remember that when you are criticizing.
He's on your team.
Yes, that's the other thing I don't get is like it doesn't help. There's nothing wrong with being frustrated with the play, but like tweeting like the stuff that I don't understand, and this isn't just Dean Curley, but it's like anytime a Tennessee player is going through a slump, is like tweeting or responding to like the team account tweets.
Yeah.
Like, would I recommend to these athletes to stay off social media in season? I absolutely would. Yeah, that's a whole lot easier said than done, especially at that age. I would not have been able to handle it at that age. I would not have been able to stay on social media because I would be too worried about what somebody is saying about me. I'm just now reaching the point where I've stopped caring what people say about me, and I'll be 30 this year. So like
that's how you do it right there.
These 18 to 20, but it took me like having kids and becoming married to have perspective that there's only a handful of people that I actually care about what they think about me because they actually know who I am. And this random person online who's hiding behind an egg as their Twitter profile photo and some fake username that can't even put their real photo and real name on there.
There you go.
And they're just dog cussing people. The keyboard warrior, like who cares what they think about me? Like, but it took me, like, I say this as if I'm like some grizzled veteran or somebody who's like your age or something, but like it takes perspective in life to finally realize that what people say about you just does not really matter. But at that age, it's impossible to ignore, is my point. And like, I just think as a fan, like, do you not think that they're going to see this stuff on social media? Do you think like this helps? It's a whole lot easier to say just stay off social media than it actually is. That's a whole different side tangent. I didn't really mean to go down, but he has dealt with some things in his personal life in between his freshman season and his sophomore season. I don't know if that's lingering for him. Again, I have not spoken to him on a personal level about that, but there was something that went on, and I hope that he's okay and at peace with it. But we are seeing a different Dean Curley in the field, and we're probably overanalyzing at this point. He's been good offensively. He's been a net positive for Tennessee. So we'll see what Tony does. I don't expect him to make a change. An out of left field thought is maybe putting him in left field. I don't know if that would be something that they would consider. I don't think that they would. I have never seen Dean Curley take a fly ball. I don't recall him taking fly balls during the fall. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't recall him taking fly balls. So I don't know that sticking him out in the outfield. I think he's athletic enough to be okay, be fine out there, but I don't know that would be the formula to fix this. It's just all of a sudden stick him in the outfield when he hasn't been taking fly balls. That doesn't sound like a recipe for success either. But we'll see what happens. I don't expect Tony to make a change, though.
You need your best players to play the best at this time of the year. It's really that simple. And if it doesn't happen, then you're not advancing. I mean, it's just the way it works. You need your best players to play their best. It doesn't matter what sport it's in at any level. You look at the NBA playoffs, and look what happened with OKC Minnesota last night. OKC's best player played better than Minnesota's best player. OKC's second best player played better than Minnesota's second best player. And you look over on the other side of the Eastern Conference, and was it Game 3? The Knicks won. Well, one of the Knicks' best two players played better than one of the two best players for the Pacers. Like, Karl Anthony Towns had a great performance. And so, looking at Tennessee baseball, because again, it doesn't matter what sport at any level, at this stage of the game, when it comes to winning championships in the postseason, it's about your best players playing their best versus other teams' best players. And Tennessee's going to need Dean Curley to learn from his mistakes in the past and put forward his best step. It's that simple. And if he does not, while the other team's best players are playing their best, Tennessee will be going home. I mean, it's that simple.
It is that
right,
simple.
Let me get to the Beatty Chevrolet text box. By the way, I hope everyone had a really good day yesterday. Hanging out. Thank you, Ben, for sharing what you said at the beginning of the show, understanding what Memorial Day is all about and reflecting. In the last couple of weeks, I watched the Netflix series about how the government pursued Osama bin Laden, and man,
give you chills, won't it?
Chills. So, all right, going to the text box. I went to Gatlinburg yesterday, which I don't know if that was a good idea or not on Memorial Day, because it was. I've never experienced Gatlinburg like that.
Did you walk the strip, or what'd y'all do?
Went to breakfast, Pancake Pantry, but yeah, had to walk the strip because I parked so far out because it was so packed. And
yeah, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Real quick before you go through the text box, while we're giving shout outs, shout out to Tennessee softball.
Yep.
And Carlin Pickens.
Yep.
They were, specifically Carlin, was really, really fun to watch on Saturday and Sunday.
Best player,
I guess
huh?
that was.
Best player, huh?
Yes.
Best player,
best player
best.
doing best player
Stuff.
things.
Yeah.
She's a Tennessee legend. She is. I mean, she's going to be, when it's all said and done, she has another year after this. I mean, she's going to be right up there next to Monica Abbott as one of the best greats to ever play the sport. I mean, she's going to be in that conversation when it's all said and done. What she did on Saturday and Sunday and opposing Jordy Ball, who won a national championship at Oklahoma and then transferred back home to Nebraska, and kind of out dueling her. That was just phenomenal to watch. And Karen Weekly is just inevitable. What I loved Inky Johnson's tweet that Inky tweeted that when I was in school in 2005, Karen and her staff were getting it done, and it's 2025 and they're still getting it done. So congratulations to them. That they were frustrating game to watch in game one, but boy, was it fun to watch Carlin Pickens put the team on her back the last 2 days and break her own record for fastest softball pitch ever.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we need something done right.
It'd be a fun weekend.
You got to count
Lady
on
Vols.
the women. The women get it done for you. Tennessee football loses to Ohio State. The Lady Vol basketball team goes up there, handle business. The softball team eliminates Ohio State, and here we go, man. Tennessee, the Lady Vols get into the College World Series. So there's some work to be done on the men's side to get to the World Series.
It'll be a fun weekend with Lady Vols playing, I believe, Thursday at 2:20 against Oklahoma. And then, of course, baseball on Friday. Women's College World Series is double elimination. So I assume that they're playing Thursday and then again on Saturday. So it'll be a fun week on the diamond. And it's also been a very busy week or so for Tennessee football recruiting, Swaino. They had a lot of important targets in town over the weekend. Ryan Callahan had plenty of coverage of it at our site, as I know others did as well. But you had Craig Tutt, the in-state 4-star safety, down to 2 teams for him. You had Carson Sneed, who's been flirting with other schools, Ole Miss, North Carolina. He was in town for a visit. Joel Wyatt, Tennessee's top in-state target. They were all in town for 865 Live. You had the former offensive line commit, Brandon Anderson. He was in town and said that he still really likes Tennessee after his latest visit. You had an Auburn commitment who hails from Huntsville, Alabama. I believe his name is, I don't even want to try and pronounce his first name, Zakiah Harris. He's an edge rusher committed to Auburn. He was in town over the weekend and said that Tennessee's definitely high on his list. Say that again?
What high school he goes to? I know he don't go to Buckhorn.
No, he does not go to Buckhorn. He goes to Jemison.
Oh, okay.
Is it Jemison or Jamison? Jemison. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Kamari Blair, a 4-star offensive tackle from Clarksville, Tennessee. He was in town and finalized his official visit plans. He's going to take an official visit to Tennessee on June 20th. You had an offensive tackle from Maryville in town. You had a lot. You had a 5-star running back pop into town. So I know a lot of people do great recruiting coverage, but we do have it covered at GoVols 24/7 from Ryan Callahan. If anybody missed that over the weekend, it was a busy weekend on the diamond for both the baseball and softball programs. But it's recruiting season. A whole interest in high school recruiting has diminished over the last couple of years because of the transfer portal. And I think part of it is fans understand how much money is involved with these high school kids. So it's kind of like free agency more than anything, not necessarily traditional recruiting. But this is the busiest time of the year for high school recruiting. This next month or so of official visits. Tennessee had its 865 Live event. Sounds like it was very fruitful. Sound like they made a couple of big moves and sustained some momentum with key recruits, especially inside the state. So they had their 865 Live event that went well this past weekend, and I believe official visits will start this upcoming weekend.
Ben McKee, GoVols 247. We need to flip Jamarion Matthews from Bama, SCVFL. Says congratulations to the Lady Vols. But whew, what a bracket. Yep, got to play OU, the Dynasty, and the 7-2 matchup. And being like you mentioned, Thursday at 2:30. If you win there, you either play Texas or Florida. So 2 of the better teams in the SEC. Even though they're in the SEC, you should be definitely familiar with Florida. Texas is new to the SEC, but hey, you had some success against Oklahoma this year. You beat them, and you also beat. Was it Texas or A&M? I think we beat Texas, right? Already softball.
I can't remember. They beat Oklahoma.
I know they beat one of the Texas schools.
I think they lost to A&M, but I could be misremembering.
I know they beat Oklahoma for sure.
They definitely beat Oklahoma. I've got the schedule right here. They took 2 or 3 from Texas.
They beat Texas. Yeah, they beat Texas.
At Texas.
Yeah, they beat Texas. So
that's right, because they went, 2 out of 3 weekends they beat Texas and Oklahoma within a 3-week span.
Yeah, so those are 2 teams you've beaten.
Lost to A&M.
But hey, can you beat them now, where it matters most? That's the most important thing. Tennessee lost to Auburn down in Auburn, but beat them in the postseason in the SEC tournament. That's when it matters. Tennessee lost to Kentucky, a basketball men's team, twice during the regular season, beat them in the tournament. So it's about beating those guys or ladies when it matters the most. All right,
Oklahoma's still Oklahoma softball, but they feel more gettable than they have in years past.
Yeah.
Tennessee baseball is also going to have to to follow your thought process there if it advances to a super regional and does play Arkansas at Arkansas.
Tennessee plays better on the road.
Yeah, how'd that road series go?
Well, fan, we lost 5 guys that hit 20-plus home runs last year. I don't think people realize that you were never going to replace that because that is insane. We have talent, but we don't have that many guys that are ready to hit like that. Yeah, like 100%. Like I saw some Vandy fan that was like trying to imply that Tennessee is not able to cheat like they were in the past because the bat inspections have been different. It's like, no, dum-dum. Tennessee has lost 5 dudes that can hit 20-plus home runs, and you don't just replace those overnight. That's the real reason why the home run numbers are not the same as they were last year. And, oh, by the way, Tennessee still 3rd in the country in home runs.
Right. They've hit over 100. It's interesting. This lineup it's just not it's not necessarily a negative on this year's team because this year's team is good, even in the midst of losing 6 out of 7 series there. It speaks more to just how good last year's team was.
Facts.
I mean, Christian Moore is already in AAA.
Yeah,
This time a year ago, SEMO was getting ready to play Northern Kentucky in the first game of the NCAA tournament, and fast forward a year, and he spent this past weekend terrorizing AAA pitching. He's a step away from the big leagues, and Billy Amick's off to a nice start in his professional career. Kavars Tears is off to a nice start. You go down the list. Blake Burke is off to a strong start. Like Kavars Tears was your 6 and 7-hole hitter at times last season, and like I like Reese Chapman, but Kavars Tears is better, right?
Yeah, he's a professional baseball
Reese has
player.
had big moments. Reese has had a nice season, but and Reese is going to he's going to get his professional opportunity. But Kavars Tears was he's probably the most underrated player on that team last year, if we're being honest.
And one of the most clutch players too.
Yep. Shout out to Papa Tears, one of my favorite Tennessee baseball fathers that I've gotten to form a relationship during the Tony Vitello era. Shout out to Roger. He's the best.
Vaughn Birmingham says avoid Cincinnati at all costs.
Well, you know what Cincinnati is saying? I hear you, Vaughn Birmingham, but you know what Cincinnati is saying?
Avoid Tennessee
we got to face Liam Doyle.
Yeah. They saying the same thing.
And they got to get through Wake Forest first.
Yeah. Here we go. Remember all that stuff we were talking about Wake Forest?
Who do you think Chase Burns is rooting for this weekend?
You already know.
It's a pretty funny. There's some funny connections because you had Griffin Merritt, who was at Cincinnati and is a native of Cincinnati, who transferred as a graduate to Tennessee after deciding to put off dental school at Ohio State. So you have Griffin. He's already had some funny tweets about how he has split allegiances this weekend. We'll be rooting for Tennessee and Cincinnati, which you can certainly understand. He's a native of Cincinnati, but also spent a year here at Tennessee. Why are you giving me that look? What would you do in his situation? I mean, I kind of feel for him. You don't want to root against Tennessee, but you also don't want to root against Cincinnati. You were born and raised in Cincinnati and went to school there. You spent 1 year at Tennessee. I wouldn't root for either if they end up playing one another. What would you do? You're giving me a look like I was talking out of the side of my neck.
I mean, it just sounds like Griffin Merritt wants a house divided license plate. That's what we need to get him.
I think he deserves it. If there was ever a rightful time to have a house divided, this would be the moment. Like Griffin is stuck between a rock and a hard place. I feel for him this weekend.
Now I've been watching, Netflix. I always like watching like the documentaries of the crime, the mob and like gangs and cartels, stuff like that. And I just feel like once you make the decision to be of all and you transfer from the school, it's kind of like being initiated in the gang. Like It's to death, man. Like, I'm sorry. There's no, well, yeah, I don't know who to root for. What? You made a decision to leave, to come here, because you thought it was better. It was a better opportunity. And now the two schools are playing against each other. I don't want to hear anything about, well, I don't know who I'm going to root for. Man, whatever. I don't want to hear all that.
I think there was a coaching change involved.
That's fine. And listen, I'm not saying he's wrong. I don't want to hear it.
I think that's easy for you to say.
It is easy for me to say.
Being in his shoes.
I get it. I understand. I get it. I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything about, these two teams playing. I like both of them. I want both of them to win. Well, damn it, they both can't win. One of them's going to win, one of them's going to lose.
It's not like he's C-Mac and rooting for both NC State and Tennessee because he's a fan.
So what is he doing?
Griffin played for both.
I don't care.
Blood, sweat, and tears for both. That's different than being a fan.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm just so when my man Carey, who transferred from Vanderbilt to Tennessee, and he plays a season at Tennessee.
Jalen Carey.
Yeah, and he plays a season at Tennessee, or let's say he plays 2 seasons in Tennessee, and he's not playing anymore, and he's reflecting, and Tennessee plays Vanderbilt. You think we want to hear Jalen Carey's?
That's different though.
Huh? What do you mean it's different?
Because he played 1 year at James Madison, 1 year at Vanderbilt, and then if he goes on to play for him, he may get 5 years of eligibility. He could potentially play 3 years at Tennessee. That's 3 years at Tennessee compared to 1 at James Madison and 1 at Vanderbilt. Like, I don't want to hear him talking about it, but Griffin, played. He didn't leave on his own.
Somebody forced him out. Somebody said, "Hey, best player on our team, we want you to get out. We're processing you because we don't want to.
No,
we don't want our
did
best
that.
player on the team anymore."
He went about it the right way. Not to say that Jalen Carey went about it the wrong way, but I don't view those situations as the same.
Listen, Ben.
I'm not Josh. I know we're both white.
No, this is something that
kids.
Josh would do. Playing games. That's
Maybe
why
you just need to be more sensitive to the topic.
Well, I am sensitive to the topic.
Maybe if I'm the problem, maybe you're the reason, as Morgan Wallen would say.
I'm not saying I don't understand where Griffin Merritt's coming from. I'm just saying
You don't understand.
I don't care.
I know you don't care, but maybe you should care.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe you should have some empathy.
I don't want to know a world. I don't want to understand a world where you're rooting for 2 different teams who are playing each other. Like, I want nothing to do with that.
That's a you problem. You need to show Griffin more empathy.
I don't. Like, I don't dislike him. Like, I'm not ripping him. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to hear nothing about him saying I don't know which team to root for. Like, I don't want to hear all that.
I can tell you never had to move around growing up, change schools growing up like I did.
Not like you. No, not like you. What does that have to do with Griffin?
Because he changed schools.
Okay. Yeah, he chose to leave a school to go to another school because he thought it was better.
Well, he was going to dental school at Ohio State and then decided he wanted to use his last year of eligibility with baseball.
Why didn't he go to Ohio State?
Would you rather go play baseball at Ohio State or Tennessee?
Why didn't he go to Cincinnati?
Again, I think there's a coaching change. Maybe I'm misremembering that. I feel like there was something that went on.
He thought Tennessee was better. That's why he wanted to come here.
That doesn't change how he feels about the school, though.
Okay. So he came here because it was business, not because he really wanted to be a Vol. It was a business deal.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can say that.
Yeah.
We in the world of NIL.
It was a business deal, but he also became a Vol.
Yeah, there's no emotions attached. He just came to Tennessee because it was a business transaction.
But now he has emotions. He loves Tennessee.
No, because he split. He don't know who to root for.
Yeah, because both of it, he has 2 teams, and I think if anybody can have 2 teams.
He got 1 team. It's Cincinnati. Cincinnati because this was just a business deal, right?
No, it wasn't just a business deal. If anybody can have two teams, it's Griffin Merritt. That's my point. If anybody can have two teams, Griffin did it the right way.
He played Cincinnati for what, 2-3 years?
I think 4.
No, man, he need to root for Cincinnati then. He need to root for Cincinnati.
You're just being cold hearted. You
Yeah,
need more warmth.
Hey, man.
You need more warmth in your heart. You sound like the Grinch.
Josh and Ben, because it's something Josh will say.
Good. I'm Team Josh
I
in
don't
this
think y'all
moment.
realize it's Vol versus everybody. It's Tennessee.
All right, Ron Slay.
It's Tennessee or die. That's what I'm on, Ben McKee. It's Tennessee or die.
He played four seasons at Cincinnati.
He need to root for Cincinnati. He need to root for
4
Cincinnati.
seasons at Cincinnati. Came to Tennessee to play 1 year.
Hey, what did Tony Vitello say after winning the national championship at the parade last year? What did he
I
say?
bet you Tony Vitello would agree with me that if anybody has the right to root for two teams, it's Griffin Merritt.
Tony Vitello better not agree with you. Tony Vitello better say
That
he don't
just
have
speaks
a
to how
comment.
wrong you are.
No, Tony Vitello better say no comment or say the same thing he said at the parade, which was you're either Vol or you're not.
Hey, Griffin Merritt got Tennessee to Omaha, so
Okay. Is he a Vol or not? Which one?
he is a Vol. He's
Okay.
also a Bearcat. He's both.
Or not. That's what Tony
He
Vitello
is-
said.
So me and Josh agree on this.
That's something Josh would agree with you on, but we'll see.
So that's 2 against 1. So obviously you're wrong.
Ben, we was doing radio during the Bush Jones era.
So you gonna say Ryan Johnson can't root for Tennessee?
Huh?
You gonna say Ryan Johnson can't root for Tennessee? Offensive lineman that transferred to Georgia Tech, who is a diehard Tennessee fan. You gonna tell me Jackson Lampley can't root for Tennessee anymore since he accepted a coaching position at LSU?
Coaching is different.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
What about Ryan Johnson? Diehard Tennessee fan.
All right, Tennessee playing Georgia Tech.
He played 2 years at both, I think.
Okay.
Is he allowed to have 2 teams?
And Georgia Tech playing Tennessee.
We're not talking about Tyler Barron or Wesley Walker. We're talking about Griffin Merritt and Ryan Johnson,
don't
people who went about it the right way.
Here. Right way or wrong way.
This isn't Chase Burns we're talking about.
You transfer to a different school. Those two schools play each other. I don't want to hear anything about you rooting for both. I don't want to hear that.
That's a you problem.
Okay. You either Vol or you're not. You either rooting for Tennessee or you're not. It ain't no, I'm rooting for Tennessee.
He got a degree from both.
Okay. You still got to root for one school. How
You
gonna
don't
root
have
for-
to.
How you going to root for both schools at the same time? Like, that's not even humanly possible.
That means you're pleased with either outcome.
Oh, man, please. Please. Please.
You would feel differently if you had gone to 2 schools.
Maybe. But I didn't. 'Cause you know
Yeah,
why?
only because you didn't grow up in the era of NIL. You would have been, Swain would have been at a different school all 4 or 5 years.
No.
You would have hit free agency every offseason.
No, I wouldn't have. First of all, I'm telling my agent what we doing, not the agent telling me what we doing. And number one, number two, I'm not moving just because there's more money somewhere else. I need to be happy where I am, and I would rather be happy while making a lot of money than unhappy making more money somewhere else. So, but no, you're right, Ben. I wouldn't know because I'm involved.
I'll tell you who's not rooting for Tennessee this weekend, and that's Chase Burns.
Okay.
But good for Chase Burns. He got what he wanted. He got all the individual accolades. Tennessee got what it wanted, all the team accolades, and they're happily ever after.
I'm not gonna say anything about Wake Forest. I'm not gonna trash talk.
Do you know what
Tuesday.
what
No,
city
I
Wake
might-
Forest is located in?
Yes, I do, because my stepmom and brother lived there. Grew up. Well, my brother grew up there. Second part of his childhood in Winston-Salem.
There you go.
And
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I went to go visit him several times. So, yes.
Where all the witches are. The witches are in Winston-Salem. And I am saying that with a W, not a B.
Huh. Witches. Interesting. I don't have any trash talk towards Wake Forest on Tuesday. It's early in the week. We'll see what happens.
Only trash talking Griffin Merritt, who bled, sweat, and cried over Tennessee.
I mean, he probably did more for Cincinnati.
Probably. That's where he's from. See, he didn't turn his back on his hometown school like you turned your back on Alabama A&M.
Well, if he turned his back, he definitely turned his back. He left. And that's okay. It's okay to leave, but I don't want to hear anything about him root for both teams.
He has every right to root for both teams.
I didn't say he didn't. I did not say he couldn't do it. I'm just saying I don't want to hear it, and I don't care. Salem, Massachusetts, not Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Ben. That's what Hunsucker said.
It's all the same.
That's what the witches are.
I'm sure there's witches in Winston. There is somewhere in North Carolina, because I lived. My dad was stationed at Fort Bragg, just outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I was there 5th through 8th grade, and we went on a field trip. I thought it was Winston-Salem. I think there is something witchy in the state of North Carolina that I took a field trip to.
Hunsucker's never wrong, so I don't know.
No, I'm not saying he's not wrong. That sounds correct. I believe Hunsucker. I'm just saying I do think there's also something there, because I remember going on a field trip. I don't remember the exact details, but I remember
Wake Forest. That's what's there.
No, it wasn't. We went to we may not have gone to Winston-Salem. It may have been a different town in the state of North Carolina, but I think there's a town in the state of North Carolina that is part of the Salem witch trials or something along those lines. I went on a field trip to it. I have no recollection of the details. Shows how much I paid attention. Probably trying to get somebody's phone number or worried about getting back to practice or something. That was back when I was a 3-sport athlete in middle school, because the military schools were never good athletically. That's the only reason I was, but it's neither here nor there.
I think it's about that time, Ben.
It is about that time to get out. I need to go talk to Tony Vitello.
Ask Tony what he said about being a Vol or not. How he feels.
I'm gonna ask him off to the side. Should Griffin root for Cincinnati or Tennessee this weekend? I'm gonna ask him.
Let me know what he said.
I bet you he takes Griffin's side.
On the record or off the record?
Let's be off the record.
Postseason time in Tennessee. Another run for the Tennessee baseball team. It's going to be fun, man. I'm just glad that we're hosting.
You got your ticket yet?
No. I don't have a ticket.
Hey, do you want to go to Omaha with me this year?
We got to get to Omaha first.
Well, that's for them to worry about. You and I can start planning ahead.
All right, let's plan.
I think we could get the Swain Event sponsored. Go back to doing 5 shows a week for a 2-week span. Make some money while we're out there.
5 days a week, huh? Okay.
We can do Jello shots.
All right. Thursday, Swain Event. We'll be back. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I am Jason Swain. Swain Events fueled by Dead End Barbecue. AlphaWildlife.com is the website if you're looking to remove critters, whether they're in your crawl space, they're in your attic, they're in your yard, wreaking havoc. Call Alpha Wildlife. The website, AlphaWildlife.com. Serving Tennessee, serving parts of South Carolina. Veteran-owned, big-time Tennessee fans. All right, Ben, let's do it again Thursday. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan. And if for everybody that needs any assistance in the real estate world, reach out to Jennifer Morris. I had an issue pop up with my house, and she helped me get right on it, put me in contact with who I need to be put in contact with, and she's helping me get that ironed out so she can help you with any problems that pop up. She can help you buy, rent, sell. It's that time of the year where it's good. to sell. So if you're wanting to put something on the market, make sure you reach out to Jennifer Morris of Keller Williams Realty.
Thursday, 8 a.m., Swain Event, fueled by Daddy and Barbecue. Peace and much love. We are out.